So this should be another one of the Fast and Furious series. Um, Although obviously being yoga, we never get that fast, and we're never trying to be furious. So it's a nice gentle flow. I'm going to be doing quite a few half planks, up dogs, variations on that, and quite a lot of flip dogs. So you need to have a little bit of a decent amount of side clearance either side, so you can, as you flip over, you're going to get your foot down easily, tripping on something. We're going to start in hero's pose, and I'm going to use the assistance of a block. So between the toes and then knees together, take the feet out wide and sit down gently onto those sitting bones and see how they feel. And listen to what creaks and cracks. Often it does. We're just going to take a couple of minutes to let ourselves settle the opening of the knees. Whilst we're doing that, since we have got a lot of work to do in the shoulders today, we're going to just roll those shoulders around in some nice big circles. So start small and allow yourself to build on those getting bigger and bigger. Muscles across the chest particularly are quite delicate. So if you start big, you tend to sort of overstretch them and then sort of keep working on that. So small and growing is the way to go. And then I'm going to let that go the opposite way. And again, start small and let it build. So it might not look hugely different in terms of the size of the circles that you're making, but it's the sort of the contraction that you feel will get a little bit bigger and stronger. I'm going to just put the hands to the floor, lift up, scoot my block right out to the front of the mat, and then take the knees wide, toes together, sitting back and into child's pose, just easing the hands out in front. And allow yourself to take some long, slow breaths into your ribs, so really giving them a chance to expand and stretch. And we'll lift the head, looking towards the hands. We're going to take it into a side bend out towards the right, stretching out the left hand a little further so we get deep into the latissimus dorsi muscle. And we'll look towards the hand. We'll come across to the opposite side. And once you've landed, then walk out your right hand back extra inch. And we'll lift up again. Simply come back to the center. Now lift up onto all fours and bring the knees back underneath. Spread the fingers out wide. Get the little fingers and thumbs as far apart as you can. And then a few rounds of cat-cow. Draw in gently through that. And since it's your practice, allow yourself to practice whatever version of cat-cow you like. You can mix it up, changing every few breaths if you wish. Or you could just go vanilla. back into neutral, fingertips on the front edge of your mat. We'll lift into our down dogs. So just taking a moment to stretch out, see how it feels. Get the hands nice and flat to the floor. And slowly pedal through the legs, just letting the hips move further towards the back of the mat. So starting to open the body up a little bit. Now I'm going to scissor the right leg up to the sky, hinging from the hips, straight leg. And then holding that down dog position as well as we can, we're going to squeeze the knee in towards the chest. Inhale back into the scissor. Pull it back in. And take that 3 more times. Trying to keep the hips square to the ground and the weight even through the shoulders and the arms. So you notice one of your elbows starts to buckle and feel light. Run through that as hard as you can. And the last time you lift your leg up, we'll hinge the foot back down to the floor. And then we'll scissor the opposite leg up. And then draw the knee into the chest on the exhale. And being vigilant again as we work through our 5 stretches to keep the weight even through the shoulders. That's number 2, kicking out. And number 3. Number 4. And number 5. And again, hinging the foot down to the floor. I'll take a little breath and come into a plank. And I'm going to allow the hips to slowly move down to the floor, keeping the shoulders lifted. I'm going to see if I can get the knees down to the ground. Untuck the toes, keeping the belly drawn in, and then bending the elbow back. I'm going to lower my rib to the floor, and then take the elbows forwards enough. Just move the block a little bit further out of the way so I don't bump my head. And then ease myself down, chest to the floor. So I want my forearms back to the ground, shoulders out nice and wide, elbows into towards the body. And then I'm going to take a low cobra. I'm going to keep the forearms on the floor, pinned into the side of my body. Inhaling up. So just as we do always with low cobra, no weight in the hands. We're trying to get the back to work. Keeping the body long. I'm just trying to get the shoulder blades and the muscles around them to work in a very specific way. Come up for 2 more. And last one. Now, bring the hands down towards the bottom of the ribs and then lift myself up. I'm just going to move a little bit further down the mat and then come back down to the floor. I want to be able to roll onto whichever side you like and onto my back. I'll make sure my head is going to be on the mat. And take a little breath from there. And walk the feet in towards the body. And then slowly bring the left knee in towards me, taking the hands around the shin. I'm going to draw that knee towards me, which inevitably moves out to the side. I'm going to slide the heel of my right leg out until I can press out through the heel, turning the thigh inwards. Now I'm going to see if I can bring the left thigh across the chest and draw that knee towards the right shoulder. So I'm going to see if I can get my knee to go past the center line of my body, but I'm going to keep the shoulders and the hips flat to the floor. I'm still working out through that right leg. now going to release and let that foot come to the floor. I'm going to slide the right leg in, bring that knee towards the body, hands around the shins again. Slide the heel of the left leg out, down the center line as best I can. The toes are flexing back, pressing out through the heel, rolling the thigh in. And then using the strength of my arms to draw that knee closer. As we said, it goes out to the side. For most of us, it's a natural line of the pelvis. And draw knee across the body. And back. Foot to the floor. We'll draw that left leg in. I'm going to have the feet a little wider than the hips. Toes in, heels out. Just wiggle the arms down by the side of the body. So my fingers almost touching my heels. I want to try and get my heels underneath the knees. Coming into bridge pose, so I'm going to take a breath in. And on the exhale, curl the tailbone away from the floor and let the hips lift up towards the sky. I'm going to inhale my arms up towards the sky. And on the exhale, I'm going to let my hands move out towards the front end of the mat. Now, hopefully, there is a block out there still. I'm going to take hold of the block and inhale the block up over my chest. I'm going to lift up onto the tiptoes. And then exhale the hands back out to the front of the mat. Let it touch. Inhale it up. Exhale it back. And then up again. Back. Up. Back. And we'll leave the block out there. Ease the hands up towards the sky. Going to roll the hands all the way out towards the hips and the heels to the floor. Inhaling the arms up and all the way out to the front of the mat, either side of the block. Palms up. Draw the hands up and over. Inhaling, coming back. Hands towards the toes. Touching the floor. With the hands, inhaling back up again. They go up towards the front of the mat. Coming back up. All the way to the bottom of the mat. Try and keep hips as high as you can. You're going to leave the arms behind. And allow the hips to come down to the floor, keeping the heels off of the ground. And we're going to come down over a couple of breaths, get right into that sticky part of the rib cage, and then lower the tailbone down gently. And once the base is on the floor, I'll let the heels come to the ground and the hands inhale back up. Now I want to take the arms out wide, and I'm going to keep the feet more or less in the same sort of position as they were bridge, but I'm going to take them then out further to the sides and let the knees come together, so little TP knees. Take a breath in, and then I'm going to let the legs roll over towards the left side. I want to try and keep that big distance between the feet as I roll onto the side edge of the foot, I'll try and get both knees to touch down to the ground. Inhale on back up. And then cross over to the other side. So we are literally going to flip and flop. Inhaling up. Exhaling into the flops. Trying to marry the movements and the breath to each other. I'm going to go to my right side for the final time. And back to the center. Reach out for the block again. This time I'm going to draw the knees in towards the chest and place the block between the thighs. Then the hands out in line with the chest. Squeeze the knees in towards me. As I exhale, I'm going to go to the right first time, and I'm going to hover the knees and the heels off of the floor, keeping the shoulders flat to the ground, squeezing the knees as close to the body as I can, rolling gently back over to the opposite side. So trying to keep the knees together, pressing onto the block, and squeezing the ankle bones just lightly together with the heels close into your butt. Knees as close into your chest as you can manage. And then last time to the right. And then last time to the left. Back into the center. Allow the feet to come to the floor. Move the block again out to the front end of the mat. And then roll onto whichever side you like. Coming back up onto all fours. Take a breath in. We'll tuck the toes underneath from all fours to down dog. And then we'll simply walk the hands in towards the toes. Coming into a forward bend at the rear end of the mat. Hands onto the shins to lift up halfway. Belly's in, folding down over the hips. So try not to keep the legs static. As you come up, allow them to open out and see if you can even the weight through the foot. And as you come down, sort of bend the knees to fold in a little deeper. Coming up again. And back down. Bring the hands onto the hips. Shoulders and elbows back and let ourselves lift. We'll flip the arms out wide. Hands through the heart. Soften the knees, hinge at the hips, come forwards. Belly's in. Exhaling deep to the floor. Hands onto the hips again. Inhale it all the way to the sky. To bring it back all the way to the floor. Final time, hands to the hips. We'll bring them through the heart this time and just let the arms spread out to the sides as we walk into the front of the mat. Wriggle through the shoulders, feet a nice hip distance apart, and then we'll sweep the arms wide on the inhale, bring the hands through the heart, exhaling to the floor, taking the breath, stepping the left foot back into the lunge onto the fingertips, a breath in, then dropping the heel to the center line, ready for warrior two, cartwheel the hands alongside, coming up. We'll add a reverse warrior in this evening, and then come back to warrior two. Take the hands high and out towards the front of the mat and down, stepping back into our down dog. Couple of breaths here to just really get into the down dog, nice and stretchy. And then we'll inhale to the plank. We'll take the half plank, so pushing forwards a little bit, ribs and elbows touch, bootlaces come down, and up dog, strong legs, chest draws up, hips float to the sky. We move into down dog again. And we'll scissor the left leg high, knee to chest and foot through. Into the lunge, fingertips again, pressing out through the rear straight leg. And then exhaling into that forward bend. Hands over the hips, we'll lift up a long way, sweep the arms up to the sky, and through the heart. Coming back down. Taking the right leg into the lunge. And fingertips for that breath in. Lay the heel down for the exhale. Sweep the hands alongside, breath in. And then cartwheel up into your exhale, warrior two. Take the palm for that reverse warrior. Coming back. Hands come high. Out to the front of the mat and down to the floor. Stepping back into down dog. Again, a couple of breaths. Travel forwards, plank, half plank, down dog, and back, down dog. And we'll scissor the right leg high, knee into chest, foot through, take a little breath, and step forwards into the fold. And we're going to turn the block onto its edge, so it's landscape in front of us, and we're going to place the hands on top of that edge, and then we're going to lift up. So we've got a half forward bend there, and you just want to make sure that your block is pretty much underneath the chest and your shoulders, somewhere between the two. And then we're going to take the hands back off of the block to bring them to the floor, forward down deep, and not worry about it anymore. Bring the hands onto the hips and let ourselves lift up, just for a bit of fun. Inhale up, hands through the heart, hinging down to the floor, taking the breath, and sending the left foot back into the lunge. Going to make sure the left hand stays on the ground. We'll take the right arm up and twist the body onto the thigh, so a squeeze. Bring the hand back down. Allow yourself to drop the back heel in, hands alongside. We cartwheel back up, warrior two. Turn the palm of the front hand for that reverse warrior. Coming back again. Inhale, hands high, out towards the front of the mat, and down we go. We'll step back into our down dog. Now remember that game Operation. So we're going to play that, just yoga game. We're going to come forwards into plank, take a breath, we'll push forwards on the tiptoes, elbows into the ribs. We're going to touch the block with our nose, bootlaces change. Then we come back up on the breath in, into up dog, rolling back into down dog. If you want to make the buzzy sound, you can do. We're going to scissor the left leg high, knee into chest, bring the foot through, take a wee breath, and then step into the front of the mat, holding deep. Hands under the hips, we'll lift up. We'll sweep the arms wide on the breath in, bring the hands through the heart, Exhaling down. Bending the right foot back, right hand to the ground. It's a twist. Ease onto the thigh. Bring the hand back down. Drop in the heel. Hands alongside. Inhale our way up. Warrior two. Palm lifts. Reversing warrior. Coming back. Warrior two. Hands float high. Out to the front of the mat. Down we go. Stepping back. Down dog. So travel into the plank. Push forwards on the tiptoes. Keep the hips high. Elbows and ribs touch. Nose on the block. Then bootlaces change. Inhale it up. And then roll it back into your down dog. We'll scissor the right leg high. Breath in. Knee to chest and foot through. On the fingertips again as we breathe in. Stepping into that forward bend. Hands into the hips. And letting ourselves lift up. We'll swoop high with the hands. Hands into the heart. Exhaling down to the floor. Left leg going back. Left hand to the ground. Twist onto the thigh. Right arm lifts. Comes back. Now onto the fingertips. We'll swoop the hands alongside the body. We'll lift ourselves up into a high crescent, keeping that front knee positioned over the ankle. Ease the hands back out towards the front of the mat and down to the floor. We'll drop the heel in and then lift into our warrior two. Into our reverse warrior. Taking the breath into the back of the mat. Coming into warrior two. Hands come high. We're out to the front of the mat. Stepping it back into down dog. Travel into the plank on the breath in. Use the exhale to bop your nose off plank. Inhale to up dog. Roll it back into your down dog. You roll the left leg high. Knee to chest and foot through. Take a breath into the front of the mat. Hands onto the hips. And exhale our way up. Inhale high. Hands through the heart, second side. Exhaling down. We'll take the right foot back. And it's the left-handed lift, get into the twist. Squeeze the body onto the thigh. Come back to the floor. Fingertips. Hands alongside. Take them out to the front, lift up. Into a high crescent. All the way down to the floor. Down dog. Travel into your plank. Half plank as you push forwards. Bop your nose. Take your up dog. Coming back. Down dog. Scissoring your right leg high. Knee to chest. Comes through. Take a little breath. Stepping into the front of the mat. Hands under the hips. And lift it up. Inhale. Hands through the heart. Exhale it down. Take a breath. Left leg back. We're going to allow ourselves to take a twist to the right. We'll come back again. Onto the fingertips, hands alongside. Lift into our high crescent. Use the hands down to the floor. Drop the back heel in. Cartwheel up into warrior two. Bring the hands together into your heart prayer with the elbows high. Take a breath. Going to rotate the body around, leaving the back foot where it was. And dropping your left elbow to the outside of your right thigh into a twist. Bring hands to the floor. And stepping back into our dog. Travel into the plank. Final round of operations. Pop your nose. Inhale it up. Back into your down dog. Sizzle that left leg high. Knee to chest and foot through. Take a breath. Stepping in. That fold. Hands on the hips, we'll lift up, swooping high. Hands into the heart. Exhaling. The right leg going back. It's up the twist to the left. Hands to the floor, fingertips alongside the body. We lift into high crescent. Back down to the ground. Dropping the back heel in. Open up into warrior two. Hands into the heart. Rotate it round and across. Drop the elbow to the outside again. Fingertips to the floor. Stepping it back. And up. Inhale to your plank. Bop your nose. Inhale it up. Roll it to your dog. Right leg scissors. Knee to chest. What comes through. Take a breath. Stepping into the front of the mat. Hands onto the hips. And we'll lift up. The mountain pose. Just for a moment. Sip of water if you need it. Turns out that repeatedly doing down dog is the equivalent of taking a couple of spoonfuls of vanillin cough mixture. It happens every time. I do apologize. Okay, we're going to start again. Taking the hands high on the breath in. Hands through the heart. And we'll exhale down to the floor. Now I'm going to take the left foot to the back of the mat again, into lunge and drop the heel in, hands alongside. I'm going to slowly lift my way up into warrior two. Take my reverse warrior again. Coming back into warrior two. And then I'm going to straighten the front leg, send the hips back, coming into triangle pose. So I'm going to lengthen out over the front thigh. Go for the donut on the shelf. And then ease the hands down and up. Just pressing the back of the hand lightly onto the inside of the shin to help you rotate around a little more. Two straight legs, pressing down through the feet. So there's no weight in this front arm. We want to be able to know that we're lifting the body out towards the front of the mat. Now I'm going to slowly bend the front knee and move back into warrior two. Taking the hands high, I'll bring them onto the inside of this front leg. We'll walk the fingers around along the side of the mat, turning the toes in. Come up onto the fingertips, just if you need to. And then when you're ready, you're going to exhale, hinging from the hips and allow yourself to fold. Inhale, we'll come back up. Walk the fingers around to the front end of the mat, back into lunge. We'll take a breath and step into that forward bend. Hands to the hips. Take the long breath coming up. Reach the arms high. Hands through the heart. Exhaling to the floor. Taking the breath. So right leg going back. This time, dropping the heel in. Cartwheeling into warrior two. Into our reverse warriors. And then coming back. And we'll straighten the front leg. Send the hips back a little bit. Wait for the creaks and the cracks. One hand down, one hand high. And wait for triangle pose. Spinning the chest round to that long side of the mat. Off in the front knee, and then back into warrior two, taking the hands high and out towards the front of the mat on the inside of the front leg, walking the fingers gently along the long side of the mat. Over this time, the toes are pointing outwards. Skandasana flow. I'm going to say slowly take the fingers, walk into the back end of the mat. We'll lift that heel from the floor so we can sit down onto the sitting bone and heel attached. And the front leg is just lengthened out, pressing out through the heel. I'm trying to have the body as upright as we can. And then we'll slink across. We'll keep the fingertips on the floor so we keep nice and low. And then cross to the opposite side, just trying to press out through the long heel. We'll come across again. So we're just going to float a number of times across. Always great for your knees. Even at the time, it might not feel like it's wonderful. So the pressing out through the heel just stops us overstretching this internal groin muscles. Okay. When the microphone falls out of hearing. We'll go across to the opposite side. I'll keep the fingers crossed, everyone can still hear, and I haven't turned that off by accident. And then back into the rear end of the mat again. And we'll come to the front end for a final time. And then I'm going to wiggle the fingers around to the front of the mat. So coming back into lunge, take a breath, and step forward. I bring the hands onto the hips and let myself lift up. Getting a little shake out of the legs, mountain pose for a moment. And then we'll sweep the arms wide again on the inhale. And through the hearts. Hinging at the hips and down to the floor. We'll step back into our down dog. And I'm going to scissor the left leg high. Allow myself to float into a three-legged plank. I'm going to go three-legged half plank. Then bring that foot down. Change the other foot down. Inhale into the up dog. Roll it back into the down dog. I'll scissor the right leg high. Come into three-legged plank. Half plank, three-legged version. Ease the foot down. Inhale into the up dog. Roll it back into down dog. Left leg lifts into the scissor. Three-legged half plank. Three-legged half plank rather than flank. Then into up dog. Rolling it back into down dog. Scissor in the right leg high. Traveling forwards. Exhaling into the half. Leg comes down. Nice and controlled into up dog. Back in. Left leg lifts. Half planks. Coming down. Up dogs. Last side. Right leg lifts. Coming forwards. Half plank. Leg comes down. Inhale to your up dog. Whew. And back to down dog. Going to take a little breath. This is the left leg high. Knee to chest and foot through. Then hands out on top of the flat brick, hopefully still on edge. Lean into the front leg, we'll come into warrior three. Up onto the fingertips. So we're nice and high. Hands into the heart if you feel comfortable to do so. I'm going to press out through that rear leg. We're trying to keep it as high as the hips. Now soften the front knee into a lunge. Bring the fingertips back onto the floor. Hopefully the block stays high. Back into down dog. We'll scissor the right leg. Bring that knee through our foot between the hands. Fingers come out onto the block again. Lean into the front leg as you take the breath in. Exhale forwards. Lifting into the fingertips if you can. So the idea of fingertips is that we really are taking all the weight through that standing leg and doing all the lifting. We're not holding on and keeping ourselves low. And it's not so far to lift the hands into the heart. If you want to have a try, you can even do one hand at a time. Again, we'll soften the front knee into the lunge. Bring the fingers to the floor. This time I'm going to take a breath into a forward bend. Bring hands onto the hips and let ourselves lift back up. Mountain pose. Getting a couple of little coughs. You don't have to do those. They just happen if they happen. Clean out the feet, making sure you've got a nice even sense of feeling around the whole foot. And it's time to start moving again. So we'll inhale high on the hands. Bring the hands through the heart. Exhale down. I'm going to step left and right to down dog. I'm going to scissor the right leg high. Bring the heel in towards your butt. And then I'm going to flip over towards the left slowly. Taking the chest to the sky. Going to come back into that scissored down dog. And I'm going to take the right knee to the outside of the right elbow. I'm going to bring the heel underneath the body to the center line and slide the back foot away as I press the knee into the back of my forearm, coming down to the floor into pigeon pose. I'm going to lift the body up, take a breath, tuck the toes underneath, lift the knee, lift the hips, press the shoulders into the ground, and step back into my down dog. And take a little breath and scissor the left leg high, knee into chest, bring the foot through. Take a breath and step into the front of the mat. Hands onto the hips. And myself lift up. Swoop, arms high. Hands through the heart. Going to step back into dog, right and left. This time I'm taking the left leg into the scissor. Heel into the butt. Flip it over slowly. With an exhale. Breath in to the sky. Flip it back into the three-legged scissor. That knee goes to the outside of the left elbow. Bring the heel across. Soften in. Sliding the back foot away down the mat. Pigeon pose. Belly in. Shoulders lift. Hips are down. And tuck the toes underneath. Lift the knee, lift the hips. Press into the shoulders. Down dog. Scissor the right leg high. Knee to chest and foot through. Take a little breath. We're stepping into the front of the mat. Hands over the hips. Now lifting up. Inhale high. Hand through the heart. Exhaling down, left and right, big dog. Scissor on the right leg high, bend the knee, flip it over. Come back into three-legged scissor. Bring the knee to the outside of the elbow, heel under the groin, slide the back foot away. Take a breath in, tuck the toes, lift the knee, hips, and slowly back into a down dog. We'll scissor the left leg high, knee to chest, bring it through. Take a little breath, step into the front of the mat, hands to the hips, all the way up, swoop up arms, breath in, and through the heart. Exhaling down. It's right leg, left leg, the down dog. We'll scissor the left, heel to the butt, flip it over, open the chest, breath in, back into scissor dog. And knee to elbows, you travel forwards, heel underneath, slide the back foot into pigeon, breath in, toes, knees, hips, pressing back, down dog. And then we'll come forwards into plank, knees to the floor. And we're going to come into child's pose, taking the hands towards the toes, narrow stance for the knees. Arms up. Long breath. And contain that breath. We've done a lot of strong stuff. We've used a lot of oxygen up. Body's going to be desperate to fill back up. So it's going to be a challenge to breathe slowly. Take your time. Pull the hands forwards again. Lifting the head. And I'm just going to come over to the elbows. And then slide the legs away from, lowering the hips to the floor, taking the feet out to the corner edges of the mat. As I bring my chest to the floor, I'm going to take the hands out wide, just setting myself up for gecko pose. So onto fingertips, elbows high, take a breath, roll the shoulders away from your ear. And on the exhale, you're going to draw your chest forwards and up as you press your thighs into the floor, rolling the heels out, a little into the fingers, and then coming back down on the breath in. We'll let ourselves lift back up. Inhaling on the way down. And up. Breath in. Back down. And then bring the hands forward, elbows in, lifting into Sphinx pose. Right, shoulders wide, long spine. Allow yourself to wriggle a little bit through the shoulders and the neck if that feels good. Now I'm going to take the hands about an extra inch forward so the elbows are ahead of the shoulders. And then I'm going to take my right hand and just cross it over the mat so I can place my hand palm to the floor behind the left elbow. Now be conscious of and noticing where the center line of your mat is, your belly button and your heart and your nose. As you start to bend your left knee, take your left hand back. Try not to let yourself move from the center line. Keep yourself nice and high. Find your fingers onto the bootleg side of your foot as your heel comes in towards your sitting bones. So trying to everything you can to not yourself let your body rock out towards the right side. Press the knee away and thigh down. Keep the shoulders nice and lifted and square, elbow high. And then we're going to release that foot to the floor. Cross the forearms over. Notice if you traveled a long way from side back to the center, because we're trying to stay on the center. We're going to bend the opposite knee, take the opposite hand back, fingers behind the foot, and we'll heel in. We press down through the forearm, out through the leg. Getting a really intense stretch into that front thigh. And I'm going to release that foot down to the floor, bring the hand back. And as the foot comes down, I'll just take the elbows out wide, let the hands be either under your chin or your forehead, and let yourself wriggle out the hips a little bit. Start from the shoulders. I'll take one long breath again. Start to work again. So I want to make sure that the feet are only hip distance apart, so the thighs are relatively parallel. I'm going to bend each knee and bring the heel towards us. We'll take the hands back one at a time, find the foot, and then we'll walk the fingers down to the ankle bones. I'm going to take a breath and press the shins away as we flex the feet to get a nice connection for the hand. And press the thighs into the floor. So we're keeping low. It's just the chest that's lifting. Thighs are on the ground. Knees are pressing away. Shins are pressing away. Breathing. And see if we can lift the thighs away from the floor by pressing the heels to the floor. So sorry, the ceiling. And as you breathe in and out, you get a little bit of a rock backwards and forwards. Make it the sides parallel. Shoulders drawn back. Last breath, lifting up. And then everything comes back down to the floor. We let go of the feet slowly. Bring the hands back under the chin, forehead, whatever you chose. Wriggle out through the hips. Roll to whichever side you like and draw your knees in towards you. Use your hands to press into the floor to lift your body up. You're going to spin the feet towards the front of the mat and just wriggle into the front edge of the sitting bone. And then once you've done that, we'll take the feet wide. And we're going to draw the left heel into the groin. Have that shin to the floor. If it doesn't go down, lean forwards, grab your block, put it underneath your leg so it's pressing in. Toes of the outstretched foot want to be up towards the sky and spread out. And we'll try and have the heel and the calf on the floor. We're going to turn the body towards the bent knee into a twist. And we'll take the right hand out onto the right shin. We're going to wrap the left hand around the back of the body towards that front thigh. Now on the right, looking towards the left shoulder with your eyes, we'll wander the finger down the shin bones, see if we can find a big toe. Draw your body out towards the big toe. Press into the shin. Rotate your chest and your ribs up to the sky. Lengthen out through the heel. Remember to breathe. And slowly back up. Get the legs out. So we can bring the opposite heel in. Again, we're going to turn into that leg. So rotating around a little bit. Check your toes with the outstretched foot or pointing skybound. Take your left hand gently onto that shin. Wrap your right arm around. Look towards your right shoulder. Lean out. Find a big toe. Hopefully, so you can get the elbow to rest on the shin, and then draw yourself out up and over towards the big toe. And remember to press into the bent shin and lengthen out through the long leg. So we're trying to keep the heel and the calf on the floor together. And release from there as well. Let's bring that left foot in, lean forward. So I've got my block. Take it to the back of the mat from the head. Untangle my legs as my knees come high and easing my way down into Shavasana. And I'm going to take the heels out, sliding them along the floor to the corner edges. As a ruler's distance, palms up. Find a little wriggle to adjust. Closing your eyes and softening your jaw. Just ease into the mat. And slowly breathe a little deeper and wriggle your fingers and toes. Become a little bit more aware of your body in the room. Allow your wrists and your ankles to rotate. Become very aware of the surface of your body against the mat. And when you're ready again, we're going to stretch out in any way that feels natural. And then if you haven't already, we'll slide a heel at a time along the floor. And bring the knees in towards the body gently. Allow the hands to come around the shins as we rock a little from side to side. And then we're going to take a breath in and see if we can match an exhalation and then a roll over towards the right side with the legs. Once we're down safely, we'll turn the chest over, bring the hands under, Press into the floor to lift back up. And then we're back to sitting. Hands coming towards your heart. So close your eyes, taking that longer breath in. We'll begin to exhale, let the chin drop. Feeling the belly drawn to the spine. Allow yourself to bow to the floor soon in your practice. On the inhale, lifting back up. Letting the head follow, the eyes open. Namaste. Have you enjoyed? And see you again on the mat soon.